I'm Terry Momer, the author of Sensation of Oneness. In this video, I'm going to ask you 10 questions. I'll let you know right now, the answers to all 10 questions are obvious. However, I'm going to ask you to do one additional thing, which is to use mature free choice to answer the questions. I'll describe what it is in a moment. But first, I want to point out, I believe when you use mature free choice to answer these 10 questions, you could discover it is obvious the universe operates as an indivisible whole, as one thing. Secondly, you will then realize during the first phase of your life, you operated on the assumption you are only your physical body, not a part of the indivisible universe. I am confident understanding this will mature everything in your thinking and your enjoyment of life. Let me now describe mature free choice. It is when you freely choose to give priority to your present experience to identify the facts you will use to guide your thinking. It is the way you discovered rocks are hard and fire is hot. You touched rocks with your hand many times and you got close to fire many times. You then turned those facts into accurate knowledge in your thinking. You then turn that accurate knowledge into skills to consistently honor those facts. You then turn those skills into habits no longer in need of your primary attention. You could be sitting on a rock next to a campfire talking about last weekend's football game. Here are two wonderful things about using mature free choice to identify the facts you will use to guide your thinking. Here's the first one. You can't ever fool yourself into thinking you don't know those facts. You can at any time again use mature free choice to once again touch a rock, get close to a fire to confirm those facts are accurate. This results in natural confidence in relationship to those facts. Here's the second thing. Without the need of effort, force, or discipline, you naturally, effortlessly, freely, and permanently turn those facts into facts you respect in your thinking. These are the two wonderful things about using mature free choice to identify facts. Here is another fact we need to take note of. Without operating on the opposite assumption, the assumption the universe is separate parts, we couldn't become self-conscious. Self-consciousness is knowing what we're doing while we're doing it, creating words so we can talk about it with ourselves and others, and executing individual free choice. We can only create the word river for a river and rock for a rock and tree for a tree by operating on the assumption the universe is separate parts. The word tree needs to not only be separate, but also different from the word river and the word rock. We can only create words that allow us to be self-conscious by operating on the assumption the universe is separate parts when it isn't. Here's the wonderful thing about this. Once you've reached the level of self-consciousness where you can do this, only then can you use mature free choice to study your present experience to identify the fact the universe operates as an indivisible whole. Now, you might ask the question, why is this so important? It's the natural source of moral and loving behavior. Once we know the universe operates as an indivisible whole, we naturally give priority to the common good of it all, which is moral and loving behavior. Now, this has been a spiritual belief throughout much of history. As I will describe later, we now know it is the fundamental fact in physics. You are obviously using the skill of self-consciousness right now. Otherwise, you would not have been able to have freely chosen to watch this video. Let me now ask you the 10 questions. I'm sure you're going to discover it is obvious the universe operates as an indivisible whole. But I want to make sure you use mature free choice when you answer the questions. Give priority to your present experience to identify the fact that answers each question. Here's the first question. Have you been breathing since you came out of your mother's womb? Look around. You're breathing now. You were breathing a few minutes ago. It's pretty obvious that you have been breathing since you came out of your mother's womb. Did you sit up and say, I think I'll choose to breathe today? No, you couldn't do that then. So would you agree you have been naturally and effortlessly breathing since you came out of your mother's womb? I think you would say yes to this. So now let's find out who or what has been doing your breathing. If I was able to take the lungs out of your body and put them on a nearby table, would you be able to breathe? No. So would you agree your lungs need to be in your body and your body needs to be healthy enough to breathe for you to breathe? I think you would answer yes. Does the air need to be around you at all times for you to be able to breathe? The obvious answer is yes. Does the earth have to have the atmosphere it has for you to be able to breathe? Yes. Does the earth need to be in the particular relationship it is in with the rest of the universe, not the relationship of Jupiter, Mars, or Venus, but its particular relationship for you to be able to breathe in order to have the atmosphere it has? I think you would agree. Now, here's the second to last question. If all of those things I've just listed were not always doing what they're always doing and always in full cooperation with one another, the lungs being in your body being healthy enough to breathe, the air being around you, the earth having the atmosphere, and the earth having its particular relationship with the rest of the universe that allows it to have that atmosphere, without all those things always doing what they're always doing and always in full cooperation with one another, would you be able to breathe? I think you would agree the answer is no, you wouldn't be able to breathe. Last question. Would you then agree that it's obvious that all those parts need to be cooperating with each other for the health and maturation of the indivisible universe for you to be able to breathe? In other words, it is the universe that is doing your breathing. I think you would conclude the answer is yes. If it is now true that the universe operates as an indivisible whole, I think there's a few facts that you would also be able to agree with. But first, let me tell you a story. In 1927, all the major fundamental physicists of the world met at Princeton University in the United States. Albert Einstein argued there's cause and effect in time. Niels Bohr argued at the microscopic level, that doesn't happen. For nearly 100 years, we have been unable to resolve these two positions until now. It's called the holographic theory, and it is the most popular theory in fundamental physics today. It operates on the assumption time and space, the assumption of separate parts, are not real. They are a mutually agreed upon illusion tool we created that allows us to create words, that allows us to be self-conscious. Well, there's only two ways the universe could be structured. Either it's one thing or it's two or more things, which is the assumption of separate parts. If it's not separate parts, the assumption that time and space are real, then it has to, by default, be the universe operates as an indivisible whole, as one thing. That's the holographic theory, and it's now the most popular theory in fundamental physics. Here's the first fact I think you will agree with. If the universe operates as an indivisible whole, then my definition is not, I am my physical body. My self-definition is, I am first the indivisible universe, and secondly, my physical body. I am first the indivisible universe that's not going to die, and I'm secondly my physical body that is going to die. Now, no one has found any evidence that the indivisible universe will ever cease to exist. There's much we don't know about the universe, but nobody's come up with a good explanation that whatever it is we're in is going to stop. So therefore, my correct self-definition is, I am the indivisible universe that will not die, and secondly, my physical body that will die. Like I said earlier, this is the natural source of moral and loving behavior. This is what causes us to always give priority to what is best for the good of the whole. Here is another fundamental fact with which I think you will agree. There's one location where you have been operating on the assumption of oneness. It is within your skin. Within your skin, you assume all the parts are cooperating for the health and maturation of the one physical body. If you get a cut on your finger, You assume all the parts in your body are cooperating to make sure the blood in your body doesn't run out that hole. I can look at my two hands and use self-consciousness to notice that they are different and separate. But notice something else. They have never gotten into a fight with each other. They both are inside my skin, and they always give priority to what is best for the good of my whole body. They are always in cooperation with one another for the health and maturation of my physical body. Now, here's the important fact here. If the universe operates as an indivisible whole, whatever is the fundamental process anywhere must be the fundamental process everywhere. Therefore, the fundamental process in the universe is cooperation for health and maturation, the exact same process that is within my skin. Competition is not an opposite of cooperation. Cooperation for health and maturation can't be escaped. Competition is a lower form of cooperation. If there's an apple on the table here and neither you or I want it, somebody else could take the apple and we'd both be as happy afterwards as we were before. But if you want the apple and I want the apple, we could agree to compete to get it. Without the agreement, the cooperative context, the competition could not occur. Competition cannot occur outside of a cooperative context. It's the lowest kind of cooperation. Compromise, agreement, and love are more mature kinds of cooperation for the health and maturation of the indivisible universe. The fundamental process in nature is cooperation among all the parts for the health and maturation of the one indivisible universe. Here's the last thing I think you will agree is a fact. Our skill of self-consciousness is a skill. It is not a biological mutation that happened thousands of years ago, which is what has been thought up till recently. We now know that our skill of self-consciousness is like the skill of riding a bicycle. There are smaller skills that we need to learn in the natural sequence that build on one another and integrate into the one full skill of riding a bicycle. It's the same with the skill of self-consciousness. In the Sensation of Oneness book, which you can read free on this website, I describe 7 layers of maturity of the skill of human self-consciousness. You can master the first 5 by operating on the assumption the universe is separate parts. But you can only master, I hope you enjoyed watching the light go on there, but you can only master the last 2 by operating on the assumption the universe is an indivisible whole as a result of using mature free choice to identify that fact. The Sensation of Oneness book is not a book you read for pleasure. It is a workbook. There are 100 chapters. Each of them is 1 page, and each page focuses on something that will help you understand better the last 2 layers of maturity of the skill of self-consciousness. Later in the book, I guide you into some experiences that will have you discover the skills of operating on those 2 layers of maturity. Later in the book, the last half of the book, I describe the maturation of society that I think will take place as a result of many of us maturing into mastering the skill of human self-consciousness. For instance, your romantic relationship can end up being a joy the rest of your life. You can discover that parenting can be eldering your child to full maturity in this skill before they leave home. You could discover how we could have democracy be a pleasure and an ease. We could even discover how to have a free market economy mature into common good kind of capitalism. Maturation into mastery, the last 2 layers of maturity of the skill of human self-consciousness, begins when you use mature free choice to answer the 10 questions and discover it is obvious the universe operates as an indivisible whole, as one thing, which I hope you just did.